Hey, I'm Olivia. I was blind until 2016. Ask me anything. This is Ask Me Anything Part 3. Before I get started, put your questions in the comments for the next video, and of course subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. First question. My vision is still not perfect. So the first question is, long ago there was a debate between two philosophers whether a blind person who suddenly gained sight would, on their first vision of a sphere, would they know which was which? They believe that the answer was no, and they're asking if I agree. So I really can't speak for any other person who has experienced blindness. Blindness is a spectrum, and only 10% of people classified as blind have no light, shape, or color. I was not one of that 10%. I had light, shape, and color, and I had sight up until half of my eyelashes in extremely magnified form, not enough to live my life, but enough to see the details on like the angle that a hair was cut. I could see one single hair and I could see the angle it was cut, which is like crazy. It's not really useful in gym class. I actually was able to understand because I was able to see tiny shapes up close. Even though they weren't shapes to live my life, it was enough that I could understand it. But I do know that if you have literally no eyesight when you're a baby, what's gonna happen is you will not develop 3D vision, so you may have some problems that way. I guess the short answer is, I believe from my personal experience, it would be based on what somebody has. So if they have light, shape, and color, they'd be able to understand it. But I think it's a lot harder if somebody had literally nothing. I have a very good friend who had blindness when she was a baby, and she missed the opportunity to develop 3D sight. So today, airplanes look like they could be very tiny and very close to her, like an insect. She can't tell. I mean, she knows it's an airplane, so she knows that it's in the sky and it's far away, but she can't tell that it's far away or not. And she falls off of curbs a lot of times in New York City. So that's her situation. Actually, a fun fact that kind of plays into this is that not everyone is seeing the same colors. I saw color when I was blind, but it is not the color that you see. My color was very brown, and as soon as I got my surgery, that was the most remarkable thing to me. I was like, wow, that's what blue looks like. Just imagine blue with brown all through it, and that's what I thought blue was before. This kind of plays into something that I think confuses people when I talk about things, because I will absolutely tell you that I've seen and understood movies when I was blind. And people are like, no, that's impossible. I'm like, yeah, it is. But what do I think I'm understanding? I, for example, saw Michael Keaton's Batman several times when, I was blind, and I was able to hear and understand enough to follow along so that it seemed to people that I had actually understood it. But I saw it recently, about 6 months ago, and it's a completely different movie from what I remember, and it is hilarious what I thought I was understanding. I didn't get the Joker flesh-colored face paint hiding. I thought that he was just like a dude with white face that people accepted. Like, I didn't understand any of the sets. I didn't understand a lot of it. So it goes back to whatever your normal is, that's where your frame of reference is going to be. Question 2. This person asks, it's a bit personal, but I'm fascinated with people's sense of beauty. How has your attraction changed since getting the surgery? How did you define love when you were blind, and how has that changed? I don't think it's changed at all, actually. I judge people on kindness. I judge people on how they treat people. I judge people on those types of things. I never have judged people by their surface, and I just don't think it's something I'm ever going to do. It just seems ridiculous, because sometimes the most, attractive people can be really mean, and to me that's ugly. I've just been on the receiving end of bullying a lot when I was blind, to the point that I don't have any tolerance for that stuff. Especially if somebody's trying to get out of it by looking cool or putting on a disingenuous front. That is the #1 pet peeve that I have. I can't stand it. I mean, I had a friend in high school that went through bad relationship after bad relationship, and she always dated like the hot guys, but they ended up being like a Gaston type dude from Beauty and the Beast that was just like not respecting her. Funny story, she's with a nerd today and she's happy. And similarly, like a lot of where I live in LA, there's a lot of these like cocktail events with circus performers that are like half naked and they charge like $65 to get into them. And I just find them boring. I'm like, I have no desire to go to this. I'd rather be at home with a book, but I am an introvert. So I would say somebody's personality is probably primary over whatever you think their disability is. Not that there's any, like, there's no negative implications from that, but like, just think that I am like I am and it's a personality thing, but maybe my disability played into the development of that. I don't know. Question 3. Nice to see that I'm on YouTube again. Yes, I'm glad to be back. Once you mentioned that your relationships with people around you completely changed after the operation. Would you like to speak about it? Yeah, so this is a huge topic. But basically, some of my friends that I had did not like that I now was able to speak for myself and go out and do things on my own. And those relationships kind of drifted apart because they were used to me being, you know, more reserved and more shy. And I still can be very shy, but I'm also going to go out and like go biking. I'm going to go hiking by myself if I want to. And yeah, it feels like some people, for me, I had made poor choices. So anyway, it's hard to say why the relationships that I had, they ended. The surgery was a catalyst, but it was not the only catalyst. It was just a case of people changing, just like you graduate high school, your life changes. My life changed as well. And not everyone wanted to be along for that ride, and you know, that's okay. I have diary entries from when I was like 13 that I wanted to move to either Florida or California, and I now live in California. Also, I was old enough that it became a situation where I wanted to, you know, make sure that I lived for myself, finally. It's worth saying my disability wasn't the reason I didn't, because people who have disabilities can live completely full lives, and they do. This was like a personal life Olivia thing, not a disability life Olivia thing. Now that I actually could see that I was capable of doing these things. And it's not because of the disability, it's because the people that were around me convinced me of this. And it could have happened even if I didn't have a disability. I moved to Los Angeles, and I just moved here with one suitcase and what I could carry. And the reason I chose that over Florida is I figured that this would be the more difficult city to survive in. Not that Florida is a city. I should say, I wanted to move to Orlando because I like Disney World, but I chose Los Angeles because I thought it would be the more difficult city to live in, and if I failed, then I could move into Orlando. The people who saw me as a whole person, regardless of my disability, they're still in my life, and it's awesome. Next question. Do you find yourself trying or liking different foods because of the ability to see better how the food looks now? I get asked this a lot, and I think it's because I come from poverty, I still don't really care as much about the presentation of the food. I'm the type of person that loves like the hole-in-the-wall restaurant owned by the family that's been there for generations, and they give you something wrapped in foil and it's the most amazing thing you've ever had. Like in LA, the tacos are insane. There's a taco stand right down there, and it is like one of my favorite places to go. I'm trying to learn Spanish now because I just kind of point at things and I don't always know what I'm ordering, but it's delicious every time. So I do eat differently though, but it's not because of my disability. I eat differently because when I was reinventing myself, I actually hired a dietitian out here to help me figure out how to eat. Having full autonomy over my life is the defining factor, not the disability. I never learned to properly eat as a kid. And everybody closest to me demonstrated really bad habits. I'm not discouraged to do these things because some of the people in my life would discourage me from it. And I'm not discouraged to be active and try new things. So I completely redid my life and myself after my surgery. A side effect is that I don't get sick anymore, and I have a completely different body shape. I see my eyesight as like an icing on the cake thing. It's not the reason why. It's part of the equation of my life, which is kind of unique even without the disability. Anyhow, that's all the questions for now. I have more questions. I'm gonna record another video. It is like 100 degrees here, and I am going to I need to turn the air conditioner back on. So keep the questions coming in the comments. And thank you so much for sticking around. I know you'll see my post on Instagram where I had a really quick move and I'm in a different living situation now. So the videos are going to be a little more regular, I hope. So keep those comments coming and I will keep recording videos and posting videos.